Being born is tough stuff. There's a reason we see infants for their nervous system health, and because being born is kind of stressful. The other day I was sitting down with a mom, expectant mother, and I was talking about infant care for when her baby boy is born, and she said it so nonchalantly that, yeah, of course I'm gonna get him checked out because, you know, being born is difficult. It's tough on the body, on his body, on the baby's body. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, that wasn't a thing before. We've been at this for 13 years, and I gotta say, in that time, it's becoming more and more of a norm. But that, you know, a decade plus ago, it wasn't top of mind for people. But think about the dynamics. This is where you're exiting from as a tiny human. All right, so there's a lot of compression that goes into that, even in a very, very natural birth with little to no intervention. Everything went smoothly by mom's account, by doctors, midwives, whoever's there to support. They all said it was a great birth. That's still a lot on that little baby because they need to exit the birth canal, number one. They need to learn a whole lot of new stuff like breathing air, eating food, seeing light, hearing sounds that aren't muffled. There's a lot from a sensory end of things that really changes for an infant. So if we can be there to check that nervous system, to assess it, and if there's issues to correct them, then that baby's gonna start off life in such a fabulous way. So let me tell you about a couple things that are common in the baby world. Number one, when babies are born, sometimes they just seem uncomfortable, and then when we hold them and assess them, they have some rotational issues. So when we do our assessment, sometimes they're just not rotating their necks very well. Moms will tell us that, hey, no matter what position I'm in, this baby will not nurse on my left side or my right side, so that's another indicator. Digestion can be off. They can be, you know, inconsolable, and that one we gotta like really, you know, really filter out, because babies in general have a tendency to cry, obviously, but not this certain type of cry that they're just unable to find like a happy position or posture. So those little things that are not so little in those early days, those are the things we're looking for when we assess our littles. For them, it becomes especially important that we use this bad boy right here. So this thermal scan, this is going to look at temperature differences within their spinal column and nervous system. So that can tell us where there may be inflammation within the system, and then we can gently correct the issue. So infant adjusting is very different than big kid or adult adjusting. So the amount of pressure we use is similar to like if you take your pinky and kind of press it on your eyeball. You're not gonna push too much, you're not gonna be very forceful, and for an infant spine, there's not a whole lot as far as bone goes. Are there little bones in there? Of course. Are they really soft and kind of mushy and not fully hardened? Yeah. So we gotta be very delicate. It's something that we were trained on years and years ago, and after holding and adjusting so many babies, we do have a very light touch. So if they become a little uncomfortable, it's not because of too much force, but we just find those areas where something is off, either misaligned, subluxated, rotated, whatever the case may be, whatever we find in there. And so when we push in there, they might not be super comfortable, but then we just keep working on them, and you'll just see them and feel them just melt into a nice little, which we call squishy or floppy babies. We want them to be very loose in their tone and not these very rigid little beings. That's not a good sign if they're holding themselves in such a rigid way. So the adjustment is just very different, and if you look back on some of our videos, let's see if we can put a few screenshots right here. We do everything as far as we hold them upside down, we'll hold them in our hands, we'll put them on top of mom and dad. Whatever that position is going to be for the baby, we're going to adapt and make sure that our technique fits that. So if you just had a baby, let's check that little guy or gal out. Let's see what their tone is like. Let's see what their nervous system scan readings look like. Let's make sure that they are starting their lives in the very best manner with a properly functioning, healthy nervous system. And you know, one last thing that's really cool about those babies, because they have very low levels of stress, because they are being held constantly, because they are, you know, not holding themselves up, and they're certainly not driving, going to work, going to school, they just heal up so fast. The things that we see on their scans just tend to clear up way faster than their older brothers, sisters, parents, whoever. So they do have that special advantage of being so young. So Let us know how we can help. See you next time.